Nice to see you back. Today I am going to be talking about the magnetic reversal and all that is coming with it. Mostly what you know, it's deception, because if something is not as supposed to be, there is no such thing like half-truth. Either something is correct or not correct. However, there are instances where there could be two correct answers to the same question. But in this case, most people believe that what is about to happen, we are under forces that are coming from the galaxy, from the sun, from the earth, and we are in the middle of that and we have no say. We are simply caught in the middle of something that is going to happen without our permission. We didn't know that, and we are very disappointed. That is not the case. Many of you watching, many viewers watching those videos, they are either looking for something of some sensation or something unusual. Some are just watching this, not accepting the fact that this is actually happening. And you are on the verge of, you're watching this passively, because you still think, oh, I have plenty of time, we'll see, there are no big signs. Now, the signs are already big and the signs are already here, but that's not why I am making those videos. Because there is, as I already mentioned, the explanation for what is happening is not correct. Many scientists are presenting many models. You know, the model from Douglas from Dipole Foundation. You know, the model from Ben from Suspicious Observers. Some of you understand the electric universe and the Thunderbolts project. They also present a model which is a little bit different than all the others. But they all mostly agree that there is going to be reversal and there is going to be a lot of pain. They are describing the symptoms, yet they are not saying why this is happening. No, it's not the galactic ripple. No, it's not the sun. The sun and the ripple, they are only part of the system. But the reason is far beyond that, not included in their findings yet. That something that used to be part of the science. Right now, our science is a system, or today's science is something that we rely on for today's needs. So, what actually science is something that we use to solve problems, but it's based in our needs. It's a practical use of principles derived from detailed observation of interactions in the nature. That's what it is. So our needs 1,000 or 2,000 years from now are going to be different, and so is going to be the science. Many of those who claim that the cosmology that we have right now, it's a top-notch, it's a model that we should all adopt because that's the right thing to do, but it's not. It's simply it's a stepping stone. As I like the statement that Walt Thornhill said, that science is not something that is cast in iron or is not settled. His exact words are, the science is not something that is settled. And we have a model, one size fits all, and once we arrive to that point, problem solved. Science is constantly evolving, is constantly in a state of flow. And what was once considered as a science, right now it's considered as a heresy. And whatever is now considered as a heresy, sometimes in the future it might be considered as a science. The frequencies that we see and we interact, the plasma cosmology is something that starts at a certain point, but there is a lot more to the left of that, a huge amount of stuff that we don't know yet. So right now, the guys are making small steps towards moving pushing this border farther and farther, and discovering new stuff, new interactions, new energies, new fields, and so on. But this is not yet the whole thing. The border between physical and non-physical, or I should say the visible and non-visible, is basically non-existent, because whatever we see, there is a spectrum that is still visible, but just we don't perceive that. Same thing with the statement that something is physical or non-physical. Everything is physical. Magnetic waves are physical. Our soul is physical. Subtle energies, they are all physical. Those are physical bodies, not something that is, as the scientists term, physical, non-physical, animated and not animated. The stones, believe it or not, if you take time lapse over 1 billion years, they came from lava, they came from the inside of the earth. In the process of crystallization, they are now stones. But this is process. They are on a move, and then they are absorbed back in the process of movement of the crust, and they become again melted. The crystals are dissolved, and they are part of something else. So the terms that we are using, they are not really correct, but we are using them based on our needs. So I hope I explained that a little bit better. I want to talk about something that is big misunderstanding in the media, in the science community, is that whatever we know about our past, the history, the archaeology, the anthropology, this is all false. Yes, it is, that's correct. But it was, even though some people did that intentionally, but you wouldn't be experiencing life with all the elements that you have right now. Therefore, that was essential and it was needed. We are moving into the phase where they call that the Great Awakening. With that, we have lots of con artists that are inventing stuff that it's not there, is not correct, but they establish themselves as gurus on a subject, as a know-it-all guys. And when you study our ancient past in the carvings, what they are saying does not match. They are the explanation for whatever they are looking at or explaining the parts. It's their view. They have a specific model or dogma, if you will, and they are trying to fit that into the model, whatever they see in ancient Greece or Egypt or Sumeria. They are just trying to push that their own narrative, but that is not correct. We, because it doesn't matter if you talk about Egypt, Greece or Sumeria, it's still us, because we did that. It is our doing of all those carvings. We knew that we are going to go that way, therefore we left information in carvings, because in carving you cannot fake it. You simply present the world as it is. And one of those things is the invention of the god, because this goes through archaeology and anthropology, constantly blaming the ancients that whatever they did, it was to honor the gods. But that's not correct at all. The figure god is something new that is invented by Roman Catholic Empire. Before the Roman Empire collapsed, a new empire were emerging, that was the Catholic Roman Empire. that didn't materialize because someone figured out that, you know what, let's make this our religion, be part of everywhere, every country. So they turned that into church. And they have the capital city in Vatican, you know that. It is the Roman Catholic Church that is behind changing those facts, changing all the parts of our history. And then among those people with those circles of the church, we have designated scientists. They were deciding what is science, what is not. And you know that, you remember the spas between Galileo and church, and there were others. There was Copernicus had problem publishing his findings. And all the universities, they were having problems to establish themselves as a scientific schools. So there was a lot of approval that was coming from Vatican. They always tweak the stuff. Okay, you can teach this, you can teach that, you can teach this way. This is the model, and so on. And that trickled down all the way to today. That science that was presented 1,000 years ago with the God on the top is still honored today. The God figure in Greek or in Egypt or in Sumeria was a completely different model. They didn't believe as a one entity that runs the show, but rather it was the representation of oneness, the collective. You remember I made a video where I am explaining the I am is in Latin ego sum, which is a collection of all the egos, which ego is, of course, a personal character. And personal character can be either very positive or very negative. But someone came up with the idea, no, ego is bad, you have to fight it. That's where the battle is lost. That's where the problems are. You can't fight ego. You are a character with specific traits, and you should honor them and cherish them, not to fight them, because that's where your gifts are. If you are a very confrontational guy and you are looking for resolve stuff by force, therefore you can be good in military, you can be a security guy, or you can anything that requires that. And there are very sensitive guys which are good with music and so on. The work, the cooperation between those elements is the Garden of Eden. I will do a specific video about that, so I will explain all those characters. Ramses, the name of that, as you can see, was constructed from the word Ra. You can research what Ra is. It's the God sound or something like that. So Ramses, it was someone who was the ray of a sun or ray of a collective, because at some point the sun became like a model or representation of the I am. It's a bright, it's a one, it's giving life, it's where everything is coming from. Therefore, Ra, the sun, has many rays, and Ramses was one of the rays. Now, in Egypt, in Greek, they had Zeus, which was, if you look at the depiction of him, it's a white guy, white hair, white beard, you know, because he's one white light. He's a collection of all the colors. He had a family which were different characters. You remember them: Apollo, Athena, Aphrodite, all the others, the guy from the hell, from the Hades, and I don't remember all those characters, but each one had specific natural thing to deal with. One was with water, one was with fire, one was with air, with earth, with sexuality, and so on and so on. So each member of his family had a different color assigned to that. Instead of being boring like that, they were more inventive. They simply assigned a name to that character. And if there were stories built around them which were related to that character. Like Mars, for example, was red, was the god of war, and so on. But that was done for educational purposes. They didn't design specific schools that you have to know how to write, how to read, and know the history. They just simply produced a bunch of stories and released them. In temples, they left all kinds of carvings, writings, paintings. It was for the people to learn from them. There was no teachers standing over them telling them, okay, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. You were picking up from this on your own. Whatever you learned from this, it was yours. And that's how education is supposed to be. And I'm supporting this 100%. That's the education of the future. We have to stop making those classroom factories where you are forced to know useless information which you will never use. That's garbage. But there is a little bit more. I'm going to tell you something right now that may change a lot in your life. You remember the stories about Anunnakis, how genetically modified humans and so what's not. That is not correct. Anunnaki, loosely translated, is one that is different. Anunnakis were people which were mostly engineers. They were dealing with technical stuff. They understood genetics. They understood electromechanical devices. They understood all the forces in the nature. They are the one that never ever generated energy. They harnessed energy. Today's society is moving constantly downwards, and we are at the mercy of generating energy because it's money driven. That was not the case when Anunnaki was there, because Anunnaki they are descendants from Atlantis, like hundreds of thousands of years, and they have the gift passed from generation to generation, how to harness the nature, how to use all the forces, be with the nature. They look a little bit differently, because when you are working with high power tools, your physics is going to change. That's where the model of the alien came from. Because when you are constantly exposed to different frequencies than they are outside, to higher voltage than there is outside, to radiation that is different than outside, to gravity different than is outside, your features are different. That's why they were called Anunnakis, one that is different. I think some of you are getting pretty good picture where aliens are coming from. There are no aliens. These are our ancestors. The alien race that is depicted in the pictures and shown to us are BS. That's one thing. Yes, they have different facial features. The skin is different. They look different. But this is because of the environment they are in. They are engineers. They still are. And I know that because it was presented to me in such a way that I knew right away, and I got confirmation on that. That's what they are. And there are people which are milking this whole thing, the disclosure, the contacts with aliens, and so on and so on and so on. Some of those contacts are real because they really want to know the psychological side of human beings, how far are we moving back. So just they don't want to step in and start doing stuff for us, but we are not ready for that, because that would be a disaster. They want to see how far we understand the technology, how far we understand who we are, how far we understand what benefits would be for us when we were getting help from them. So now you have the disclosure. See, it took 1 minute, 2 minutes. Now let's tell you something about Sumerian. I am sure that your life is gonna go so. You remember that when I was presenting to you the God, the I am, ego, sum, remember that sum, that word sum is very important here. Because Sumeria, it's a combination of two words, the sum and ra. You getting the picture? It's a sum of race. So the people that established Sumeria, they call themselves a race, not race like R-A-C-E. So Sumeria is a combination of two words. It's part of it is taken from the ego sum. You remember I am, that I was explaining that before. The sum is a collection of rays. Ray is not, it's the sun ray, it's the R-A-Y. So Sumerians are, as I already explained, those are professionals, those are experts in specific fields. Let's explain better those Anunnakis. See, when you are in this environment and you can find enough evidence, scientific evidence, that it's the environment that is dictates how our features, the physical features are going to be. You can study work of Dr. Lipton, how much the environment is influencing how people behave. But not only, there is a genetic science where they manipulate the flow of electricity in the cells. They can completely restructure a body and make something completely different. Same thing applies to what I was just saying about Anunnakis. So these Anunnakis are forefathers of today's aliens, since once in a while they take someone on a ship and they have interactions, very intelligent interactions. I know, some other video. So because of that, so many people are inventing Pleiadians, Archons, reptilians, and all the other gamut. And as I already told you about the disclosure, these people are going to be making this for a very long time. But the truth is, they are afraid to just one day come forward with this information, give it to the people, because there is so much religious bias all over the world. Christianity, Judaism, and all the others, including Buddhism, that are not keen to that idea that we actually are coming from the highly evolved people or beings constantly descending into the darkness, to the abyss, because we want to see how far we can go. This is not sitting very well with the dogma, because according to Chachomiku, or I'm sorry if I am not saying this name correctly, or Elon Musk, that we are coming from the cave moving upwards, that is not correct. Some, yes. There are only few that do not desire anymore this ascension, and they just simply, a few of them are going upwards. I am one of them. it does not mean that I'm some kind of special guy. It's simply every civilization requires someone to kind of remind you who we are, or remind you that you should think for yourself and look at the facts for yourself to understand who you really are, not to believe blindly to someone because someone developed a really nice model, like you remember the Crayon writings, the Indigo Child and what's not. There is millions of people following that without ever having any evidence that this actually is true, but it is very appealing, and any elements that come into their life supporting that, they are accepting, yeah, you see, this is true. Be much open-minded, because what is happening right now with the reversal and with the whole package, that whatever is going to be unfolding, it is also, as I already mentioned many times, your graduation time. So if you want to be a part of a project where you feel comfortable doing stuff, you need to decide that, and no one is going to do that for you. So the Anunnakis, they were forefathers of today's aliens. They already know that the model of aliens as a separate species from ours is essential, because they want to respect the beliefs of the religious people, and they want to kind of let them go their own path. So when the separation goes, they will go to whatever environment they need to go. And those folks are going to be hanging around, still helping with the technical stuff and so on. There is one more myth that is about the Atlantis. The name of Atlantis came from something that is loosely translated on a ground or on a land, Atlantis, which means on the ground, because we had ability to having floating islands, floating cities, floating lots of stuff, and the technology that we have right now doesn't even come close to what was possible back then. I remind you that before, the galaxy was much more vibrant, more energy, so the rays, the sound rays or the frequency bands, they were much more fluctuating. There was the interaction with other realities much more frequent, and there's a whole story behind this that is not correct. Right now, someone found an aerial picture from northern West Africa, where there is a remnants of concentric circles. Everything is pointing to what Plato seemingly said, that the Atlantis was 3 rings of water and 3 rings of land. And those that found this, they claim that that's the spot where this is. No, it's not. It's completely different reason why this imprint in the bedrock is there. I will explain that, because that's not Atlantis. Atlantis wasn't even there. The African continent is above the water, but before it was underwater, it was under ocean. It was not on the top. It was, it's a completely different reason why this imprint is like that. And Plato, it was already in the moment where there is somewhere a line that he's saying himself that this is all imagination. Research that. I have so many things going on around me that I didn't have time to bring you that information, but that information about Atlantis is not necessarily correct. Plenty of stuff that he's saying is correct, but the rings of water and land, that is not. And he's admitting this somewhere. I don't know where that is. So let's summarize this whole thing. Why the title that this whole magnetic reversal and the ice age and the whole changes. It's all deception, because as you know, and the key players in this whole thing is NASA, astrophysics, all the other guys. They all claim that the forces behind this whole thing are beyond our control, that we do not have any say. Douglas even claims that this is a clock cycle and it's happening every 12,000 years. We have no say about that. So is Ben. We have no say about that. That's not correct in either case. Electric universe, the only guy that is closer to the truth is Michael Clarish, because he understands that the form needs to be first. In other words, the chicken needs to be first before the eggs can be laid. So he understands that the reversal is essential for something. He is giving the clue in his videos that the form needs to be first before anything else happens. And that's the key. Now, on the outside, for most of viewers, it looks like, no, there is a clock cycle, because they already discovered that it was every 12,000 years, that the pauses. Ben is showing so many evidence from the Mungo Lake and the other lakes. There is something called the observer effect. Study this very carefully, because when you focus on something that it's supposed to be the way you think it is, the universe is going to provide you all the elements to convince you that you are correct. So right now, people are talking about disasters, and disasters are happening. People are talking that this is happening every 12,000 years. The scientists are providing the evidence that it was happening every 12,000 years. There is a much more going on than just the magnetic reversal. This is a very interactive environment. This is like a game that you are part of, but at the same time, you influence the game. You can activate all the elements with the game that you want to experience. And this is the hardest part for the science to grasp, to understand, to accept. That yes, the magnetic sheet, the galactic sheet, that magnetic ripple, yes, it will deliver. The polarity is going to switch. All the planets will reverse. Some are going to flip, some are not going to flip. The sun is going to go supernova or micronova or whatever they call this. Those elements will happen, that's true. But they are only part of the system. They are only part of the delivery. The energy is going to flow right through them. They don't make the decision. The decision is made by you, by each one of us, not only humans, but plants, animals, the nature, whatever, all the forces are involved. Because it's not just a guy sitting on the top there with the white beard and white hair saying, screw it, let's make reversal. That doesn't work that way. Right. I want you to know that I might be silent for 2 weeks because I am really want to finish the book, so I am taking a couple of weeks off to focus, finish the writing, because I want to put in the book more stuff that I know that was presented to me, and I want to publish this year because we are running already of the time frame where that window is going to be available for me to present that to the world, so that can spread all over the world. That's about it. Thank you for watching, and if you like this type of content, I'm going to make a lot more, which is going to be specifically about the polar reversals and what comes with it. Please then subscribe, please like this content, please check the notification bell and share this video. I might be off for a couple of weeks because I am planning to finally finish the book. I don't know how long it's going to take, but this time I decided I'm taking 2 weeks off just to organize the material and focus on the writing, because I want this book to be published. I have actually deadline that they are already kind of do the book first, do the book first, do the book first, because once the book is up there, I can focus more on producing videos and make them a little bit more professional. I want to engage people helping me with that, because right now the stuff that I know, I need at least 3 writers, 2 guys making videos and 2 guys focusing on media, because I can't freaking handle this whole thing. It's way too much, but I'm not giving up. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing just for you guys. If this material can help just one person, yay, my job is done. Alright, so thank you and see you in the next video.